निस्संगो निष्क्रियोऽसि त्वम् स्वप्रकाशो निरञ्जनः अयमेव हि ते बन्धः समाधिमनुतिष्ठसि निस्संगः asi. That the verb is towards the end of the verse. Nissangosi, you are nissangaha. Meaning you have, by nature you have no relationship. By nature, that is your nature. In perception, in the context of ignorance, there are so many in Vyavahara, so many relationships are seen. They are appearances, call them appearances, call them perceptions, call them creations, as long as they are called creations also, involving no change. The word creation is different from modification. Creation is used in Vedic culture as synonymous with appearance, because erroneous perception implies no change. Appearance and reality implies no change. Maya Srishti. Srishti means Maya Srishti. We don't have two kinds of Srishti. It is Maya Srishti means Maya Srishti. So, what is it that we call Srishti? Something becomes something without actually becoming. Meaning something becomes without actually becoming something, or something appears as something different without actually becoming it, and something is perceived as something else without actually becoming it. So something common is the changelessness. The fact remains intact. Therefore call it perception. Say pratiti, we use the term pratiti. Mithya pratiti, false perception. We also use the term abhasa, false appearance. We also use the term creation, Maya Srishti. But Srishti need not mean any modification. When we use the term Srishti for the universe in Brahma, it's not like a pot maker's Srishti of the pot. He uses his will. The moment we use the word Srishti, we immediately bring in the will as an event, etc. But Vedanta doesn't use this is a problem with the word Srishti. It creates a problem. The word Srishti is used in the Upanishads in the sense of Maya Srishti, because Srishti is followed by Layaji. If the milk becomes curd, it cannot go back to milk again. That is transformation, modification. That's not called Maya Srishti. In Srishti what happens? Srishti is followed by Laya. That means Srishti, when there is Srishti, the fact is intact, the source is intact. When there is Laya, the source is in fact. Therefore, Srishti in common parlance creates a problem of will, brings in the idea of will, the idea of time, the idea of purpose, lot of problems it brings in. But we have to hear the word Srishti sans time, sans the will, sans the purpose. It should be used as synonymous with only pratiti or abhasa. Then you can use in Vyavahara the word Srishti freely, yes. you should have no confusion about Srishti. Yes, this universe is a Srishti. If somebody were to ask a question, is there a maker for it? Yes, maker. But then, that maker is not like a pot maker. Pot maker we may give as a drishtantam, because for the source of the universe we don't have another example, another simile. Another source we don't have. Therefore, truth has no simile, please. Truth has no simile. It's very difficult to come across something like the truth. Therefore, just to help the students while studying the alphabet of Vedanta, we say just as there cannot be a pot without a pot maker. There can't be a table without a carpenter. In that sense, yes, this universe also can't be without a source. Even when we say without a creator, it can't be. But even when we use the word creator, creation, it is sans the will, it is sans the time, it is sans the transformation, it is sans the change. It is like it's different. That is why it is called Maya Srishti. So we have to be considerate to Vedanta. It explains its terms. So we don't have to feel how can there be a maker of the universe, etc. Because the universe has the maker, but that maker is different from a pot maker. Therefore, Nisangaha Asi. In this Vyavahara, sir, you may have so many relationships. But from your own point of view, from Swarupa Drishti, from your point of view, by nature you are free from all. Even we talk about the universe, it is a strategy. We call it a Srishti to ultimately convey that there is no Srishti. There is only oneness. Yes, we call it a Srishti as a part of teaching. When you are talking about the truth, then the universe is called a Srishti. Call it a Srishti, call it Maya Srishti, call it Pratiti, call it Abhasa. So now you can say in this Abhasa, in this Pratiti, in this Maya Srishti, the subject looks to have so many relationships. But from his own point of view, he is Nisangaha. Why should it be said? So that I can turn my attention from my relationships to my freedom from relationships. You are Nisangaha means, sir, your idea that you have relationships is only a pratiti. Your thinking that you have relationships is only a pratiti. Pratiti means perception. Your idea that you have relationships is only an abhasa. Your idea that you have relationships is only Maya Srishti. But in actuality you are Nisangaha. That means this teaching Nisangaha is doing what? Correcting the man's thinking, which falls in line with pratiti, which thinks in terms of abhasa, which thinks only along the lines of Maya Srishti. This wrong thinking, and it is thinking along the lines of pratiti. I take the pratiti with a sense of reality, abhasa with a sense of reality, Maya Srishti with a sense of reality. Therefore I think all my relationships are real. And in order to liberate man, the Shruti comes and says, Ashtavakraji says, all your relationships are not true. Nisangosi. Nishkriyosi. And the principle is the same. The mananam is the same. How? The relationships are false. You are nisangaha. You are nishkriyaha. Your kartrutvam is only a pratiti, abhasa, or Maya Srishti. By nature you are Nishkriya. You understand? The pattern is the same. Follow the pattern. It's a very beautiful pattern. Your Kartrutvam is a Pratiti. It's a Pratiti means perception. Don't translate the word Pratiti to mean appearance. No. Pratiti means correctable perception. Abhasa means a false appearance. Maya Srishti means a false creation. And all of them fundamentally, they may have many empirical connotations, but all of them fundamentally mean one thing common to all of them, that is, the reality behind it doesn't, it is intact. The rope, the snake is a pratiti, the rope is intact. Or you can say the snake is an abhasa, the rope is intact. Or you can say the snake is a Maya Srishti and the rope is intact. But in this world, for human beings, it is always better to use this term as Maya Srishti it uses, because if a person can go by say it's a pratiti about the truth, if a person can understand the universe as a pratiti about one's own existence, it's an appearance about one's own existence, it's a pratiti, and if he doesn't want to use the word Maya Srishti, it doesn't mean Maya Srishti is wrong. Maya Srishti is still a prakriya. Veda uses the word Maya Srishti as a prakriya. It's not wrong. What is wrong is God created by His will. That is absurd. God created it by His literally desire. That is absurd. Because even when the Shruti says He thought and He created, it is a strategy, it is a prakriya. Strategy means there is a purpose. It is to show that He is conscious. That is called a strategy. Prakriya means a strategy, please. A strategy to unfold the oneness. If the strategy to unfold, the strategy has certain details. Now if those details are taken as a realities, then it becomes a contradiction. A strategy to unfold the oneness has its glory. It only shows the Shruti's compassion to convey even to an average man. It is true, fundamentally it is perception. That it is perception is true. But that it is an appearance is a strategy. That it is abhasa is a strategy. That it is pratiti is indeed the truth. Erroneous perception is the truth. Abhasa is a strategy. Even Maya Srishti is a strategy. But everything, that the snake is a perception. And that also has a tatparyam. So if snake is a perception, rope is the fact. If snake is an appearance, rope is the fact. If snake is a Maya Srishti false creation, then the rope is the fact. Ultimately, to trace the pratiti, to trace the abhasa, to trace the Maya Srishti to the source, we have this. Unless I see the connection of the pratiti and the vastu, abhasa and the vastu, Maya Srishti and the vastu, the pratiti, the abhasa, the Maya Srishti cannot get corrected. I cannot falsify the false unless I trace it to the reality. How do I trace the false to the reality? The very discussion that it is false falsifies it, because I can only be convinced that this is false only when I see its connection to the reality. What I see is the false, the seer is the reality. What I see is the abhasa. The seer-seen relationship also is abhasa, and one's own existence is the reality. The seer-seen relationship is Maya Srishti, and the absolute one's own being, that is the reality. Therefore, the error is sense evident, error is also evident, and the reality also is evident. The error is objectifiably evident, and the truth is unobjectifiably evident. The objectifiable is traced to the unobjectifiable, that is its falsification. The visible is traced to the invisible, that is its invisibility. The visible is traced to the invisible, that is its invisible, that is its falsification. The visible dream is swallowed by the invisible. It is traced to the invisible, the subject. That is its falsification. By tracing the visible to another visible thing, there is still something visible. I trace the snake to the rope, but there is the rope visible. And the rope can be again mistaken for something else. I may correct the mistake about the present mistake about the rope, but as long as the rope is there as an object, it is always available to be mistaken. If not in this life, next life. Falsification means tracing the visible to the invisible. Self-evident but not objectifiable. When the object is traced to the subject, that is its death knell. That is its disappearance. The visible is traced to the invisible subject. The dream, the visible is traced to the invisible. Invisible, please understand, not unevident. Invisible means evident, unobjectifiable. One's own existence is unobjectifiable, but very much evident. That the evident visible, the evidently visible is traced to the evidently invisible. The evident object is traced to the evident subject. There is an ununderstood oneness of the object with the subject. That ununderstood oneness of the object with the subject is what is conveyed by Mahavakya, is conveyed by the entire Vedanta. There is an ununderstood underlying oneness of the universe with the being of the subject. Not oneness of the object with the thought. Thought also is an object. It is oneness of the entire creation, which includes my body, includes the senses, includes the mind, memory. Once we say the universe there is ununderstood oneness of the universe with the being of the subject, not with the thinking of the subject, because thinking done by the subject pertains to the objects. Thoughts pertaining to the objects have to be bracketed with the objects. Memories pertaining to the objects have to be bracketed with the objects. Emotions pertaining to the objects have to be bracketed with the objects. That universe has an ununderstood link, oneness. It's not like this. It's not a contact like this. It's like a wave's ununderstood link with the water as oneness. The wave has an underlying oneness with water. The universe has an underlying oneness with the subject. And that subject, in tracing the pratiti to the fact, abhasa with the fact to the fact, or maya srishti to the fact, then all that is, it is falsified. In order to trace the error to the fact should also be evident. The fact is also evident. The pratiti is evident, is felt by me. And by whom it is felt is also felt. The subject me is also felt. It's not sense felt, but yet it is felt. I am there. One doesn't have to really interpret the evidence in terms of only some kind of a sense evidence. Sense evidence is kalpita in the self-evidence. One's own existence is also evident, and therefore what is evident to me has oneness with the me. That ununderstood oneness of the creation with the seer is the topic of the entire Veda, the entire Vedanta really. It is only, and the clue to this is, we say, there is a strategy. What is the strategy? God created the universe and Himself entered it. God created the eyes and Himself entered. Himself means without remaining as it is, without undergoing any change. He may look different, but He doesn't become different. Atmana eva anupravishya nama rupe vyakaravani says. You see, it's a very beautiful. The very truth of the universe enters the universe. The truth of the pratiti enters the pratiti. The truth of the abhasa itself sees the abhasa. The very source of the maya srishti enters the maya srishti. That means he remains as the subject. Creation is all in the form of objectifiable object. The source is the subject. Therefore, sir, nisangaha, from the pratit drishti, abhasa drishti, maya srishti drishti, you are a karta, you look karta. You are a karta, you look a karta. And you feel convinced that you are a karta, but on close analysis, you are a silent being. You are nishkriyaha. Nishkriyo sitvam, swaprakasho sitvam. You are swaprakasha, self-evident. Prakasha is not something in the form of sight, hearing, that faculty. Faculty also looks like a light. Sight is light, audition is light. But then please understand, seeing is different from hearing and tasting and touching, and they all five are different. Seeing is not hearing, hearing is not tasting, tasting is not touching, touching is not smelling, etc. But all of them are conscious phenomena. There are five different faculties. As faculties, there are five different. But if you just think more closely, but all of them are. I can say to see is I am conscious of, to hear is I am conscious of, to taste is I am conscious of, to touch is I am conscious of, To smell is I am conscious of. Even to remember, I am conscious of. I love it is I am conscious of. Therefore, that I am aware of is what is called Swaprakasha. So we are not reducing to be conscious of to the perceptions. But perceptions are reduced to be conscious. Are you able to follow? I did not explain that to be conscious means to see. I didn't say to be conscious means to see, to hear, to taste, to touch, smell. I only say to see means to be conscious. To hear means to be conscious. To taste and touch and smell mean to be conscious. That means we are reducing the perceptions to awareness. Therefore, awareness is not a sense perception. Sense perceptions are awareness. Awareness is not. You can't reduce the truth to the universe, but we are reducing the universe to we are tracing the universe to its source. That is why our phrases have to be marked very clearly. Thoda bhi mistake ho to then the mind thinks differently. Snake is one with the rope. Not, we don't say the rope is one with the snake. Because from the rope point of view, there is no snake. We trace the error to the truth, not vice versa. We trace the creation to the source. And therefore, in order to help the student to trace the creation to the source, the Shruti says, the source became the creation. That is the strategy. The source became the creation, so that the student can trace that creation. That means this creation is not a thing lying there. It is an appearance in a source. It is not willed by another individual, because there cannot be a will unless there is an individual will. Jiva has a will. Even amoeba may have a will. Jiva has a will. That is called Purusha Tantra Vyapara. Only a given individual can have a subjective choice, can have a subjective will. An individual can have a subjective volition. But the source of everything cannot have a will. Shruti says so. It is a Shruti's strategy. Shruti adopts a prakriya to help the student. How? Sir, God became, without actually becoming, God became everything. And himself becomes the seer of it. It's a strategy. It's not a fact. It is a strategy to convey a fact. It's not a fact. It is a strategy to convey a fact. It's like they say, if you want to convey the nakshatram, this Arundhati nakshatram in the sky, you tell the person, hey, look at this tree. That's a strategy. Look at the branch. That's a strategy. Look at the fork. That's a strategy. And through that fork you look into the sky. Yes. And do you see the Arundhati? Yes. That Arundhati is not qualified by the tree. That Arundhati is not qualified by the branch. It is not qualified by the fork. These are strategies to convey. It's called upaya. It is called prakriya, paddhati. Conveying paddhati ko kahte hain prakriya. Therefore, if Bhagavan became everything, without remaining one, he became many. Remaining one, he looks many. Remaining one, he is perceived many. Remaining one, he creates himself into many. And himself enters the creation. Himself stands as the seer. And it is also said, having created, he goes on perceiving them, using some language for them. Oh, it's a tree. So when we go on perceiving and then there is a muttering of the language, You see a tree, it's a tree, then there is a language muttered in the mind. You see a rock, there is a language muttered. Bhagavan himself creates, he enters and goes on chirping the descriptions of his own creation. He goes on chirping. It's a strategy to say that this is a creation and the very seer is the source. So I have to figure out the underlying ununderstood connection between the seen and the seer. Seer-seen relationship doesn't qualify the seer. Seer-seen relationship only qualifies the object. Relationship is to be bracketed with the object. The seer is not qualified by seer-seen relationship. Very important point. Therefore, thus now I have conveyed to you, we don't trace the source to the creation, but creation to the source. We don't trace the awareness to sense perceptions. We say sense perceptions are one awareness. 5 perceptions are one awareness. Swaprakasha, Niranjanaha, it is free from impurities. Anjana means, taint. Kajal, this kajal, actually you put some kala paint on the eyebrows, etc., eyelids, etc. That is called kala paint. It stands for, in Vedic language, this stands for Anjana, means that which sticks. Anything that sticks to you is called Anjana. It leaves marks on you. That is called Anjana. Niranjanaha means nothing sticks to your being. Like the snake doesn't stick to the rope, ji. Understand? It is not that really Atma's the surface is so smooth, nothing sticks to it. Aisa nahi sochna. You have to rise above the normal, a layman's thinking. It's a glassy surface, nothing sticks to it, we say. It's a very smooth, glassy surface. Not in that sense. An error doesn't stick to the fact. In this world, everything can stick to anything in this world. Except if there is a discussion about what sticks and what doesn't stick. My first statement is anything can stick to anything. But there is only one thing which doesn't stick, and that is the mistake doesn't stick to the fact. I tell you, if you follow this, it's great. Maya Srishti doesn't stick to the source. Appearance doesn't stick to the reality. Pratiti doesn't stick to the fact. And from the fact point of view, there is no pratiti. From the reality point of view, there is no abhasa. From the source point of view, there is no creation. From your own point of view, you are not a father, bas. You are not a mother. You are a sister, you are not a sister, you are not a daughter, you are none of them. Thus, Adhyaropa Drishti is right in front of me. Swarupa Drishti also is. Adhyaropa Drishti is evident to me as a pratiti, as an appearance, as a creation. Swarupa Drishti is also self-evident, not looked at. I only look at myself from Adhyaropa Drishti. And I look at myself from Adhyaropa Drishti, and that Adhyaropa Drishti is taken as the Paramartha Drishti. I see myself as a father and I say that is the fact about me. I am a mother, that's the final fact about me. That is called Paramartha Drishti. I take it as Paramartha. I look at myself as a father, I say that is the final fact about me. That is the reality about me. But when I look at myself, then there is another drishti about me, from my own standpoint. That's what I see in myself from Adhyaropa drishti is not my nature. It is a kalpita. Our relationships are kalpita. Freedom from relationships is our nature. Therefore, every relationship carries some impurity. There is no relationship which doesn't cause impurity. It doesn't cause some kind of disturbance. Therefore, not renouncing relationships is not. Trace the relationships to the unrelated being. You can't throw away relationships. Understand them as silent nature. Yes, I am a father from Vyavahara Drishti, but from my own point of view, that's a perception. I am a mother, yes, from Pratit Drishti, Abhas Drishti, Maya Srishti Drishti. I am a father, yes, but from Swarupa Drishti, none of it. Niranjanaha. And in every relationship brings its impurities, disturbances. Therefore, don't have any relationship. That's not possible. Not to have relationships is not possible. Survival is not possible. In order to know the truth about me, I have to survive. And survival implies relationships. And relationships means handling the relationships also. But in order to be free from the onslaughts of relationships, every relationship gives the onslaughts. In order to be free from the onslaughts of relationships, I have to trace them to the myself, which is free from all relationships. Therefore, the effort should be to trace the error to the fact, not to throw away the fact, the error. You can't throw away the error. How can you throw away the error? You can't catch hold of the snake and throw it away. Why man is stuck to the error? Because he can't throw it away. Otherwise, you would have thrown away. See? He can't distance, he can't throw away the sense of limitation. He can't throw away the sense of embodiment. He can't throw away the sense of impurity. He can't throw away the sense, because the sense needs to be corrected. You can't jump out of this universe. That's why you have to trace the relationships to the relationship of free yourself. My relationship has its falsification in my nature. My dream has falsification when I trace it to myself. To wake up itself means it disappears unto me. The seen resolves unto the seer. It looks as though I leave it behind, but it's not true. As a perceiver doesn't leave the perceived behind. In Vyavahara it looks like this. When I go to sleep, I leave behind the world. But you never experience a fact, you never experience that I leave behind the universe. When you leave the universe, you don't even remember it. When you leave you don't leave it behind. When you don't leave the universe, when the perception resolves, the object of perception also resolves, in the sense, from your point, from the resolution point of view, there is no object. After waking up, I may say, I left it behind and went to sleep. That is a laukika drishti. That is a pratita drishti. That is the abhasa drishti. That is how one thinks. That is not how it is. It looks as though I leave behind the universe and go to sleep. Shruti says no, the whole universe is in the seed form. It has resolution in you. In the deep sleep state. Deep sleep state can be looked at as it is a state of resolution of the Jagat. Or you can say, furthermore, one step further, you alone are. It is a state of non-dual presence. Therefore, we can't throw it away. Relationships we can't. No problem can be thrown away, nor can you solve it. They have to be falsified. Please, this is a very big point. You can't throw away the problem. You can't solve the problem. You can only, even if you solve it, you have to keep solving it. If it comes to solving a problem, you have to keep solving it. Yeah, solve it, solve it, solve it. Solving the problem is related to the survival, and ultimately, while solving the problem, I have to also ultimately trace it to, I have to falsify it by tracing it to the truth. Like I have to solve some of the problems in the dream. But inside the dream I have to keep solving the problem of the same problem I have to keep solving. I may have to solve more than once. But solving the problem really is not the answer because it is inconclusive. Solving the problem is inconclusive. वो कभी खत्म नहीं होता है. It is inconclusive. It's amazing. Solving the problem is, and therefore, no problem is solved for good, but a problem is falsified for good. You falsify the problem for good. Even dream, please. When I wake up, again I dream. Today's dream is gone, tomorrow's dream again comes back. Why? Because it's not yet understood. It only resolves, but I don't cogitate. I don't reflect to find out where it resolves. It disappears. But where does it disappear? In the deep sleep state, my senses resolve, but where do they resolve? Which is a resolving point. A thought begins and ends. I only perceive it ends, but I don't take interest in finding out where it ends. That is vichara. Niranjanaha ayameva hite bandhaha. Sir, you are nisangaha, you are nishkriyaha, you are swaprakashaha, you are niranjanaha. Ayameva hite bandhaha. This is your main problem in life. What is it? Samadhi manutishthasi. You are involved in some mental exercise rather than understanding your being. Samadhi manutishthasi. You are practicing samadhi. Practicing is not education. Practicing is a given exercise. Vedanta is not in the form of practice, please. If it happens to be the rope and if you see it as a snake, you don't do samadhi there. You look into it and find the rope. Supposing you sit next to the snake and do samadhi, keep on thinking about the rope. Concentrate on somebody says it is a rope, and then you concentrate on the rope. Not there, in your mind you imagine a rope. Does it negate does it falsify the snake? Error doesn't get falsified through some practice. Education is different from these mental practices. Samadhi is only when you are extremely restless. You control the mind. That is called samadhanam. Samadhi is a word synonymous with samadhanam. Samadhi is one pratyaya, tin pratyaya. Samadhanam is another pratyaya. Samadhanam, like gamanam, samadhanam, lyut pratyaya. But there is only pratyaya bheda, there is no artha bheda. Samadhi means composure, mental composure. Now in this society, education one doesn't want. He loves to do some mental exercise, control the mind. You are doing. I say, what can you do in your mind, sir? Either you can entertain a thought or you can avoid a thought. Entertaining a thought is a kriya action, and making an effort to withdraw, avoid, silence the thought is also an act. You are willing a thought, or you willing to silence a thought. Either pravritti or nivritti ji. When you think a thought, it is called pravritti. When you try to avoid a thought, that is called nivritti. And that is your will, that is your volition, that is action, it is not understanding. Here the Shruti says, the thought that is entertained is made of you. The thought that you want to avoid also is made of you. It is an appearance in you. In this manner, don't enter into mental practices, please. You are wasting time. Swamiji, ye kya baat hai? Haan ji. Don't, it is not good for you. And if you are too dull, you can't understand anything, and you are a confirmed mandabuddhi, suppose, then you do something. But if you are educated, if you are even averagely good, if you are able to follow what I am saying, you are not average then. I tell you, if anybody can sit through my whole class, then he is not average, he is above average. I don't mind saying he is brilliant. Idana asan nahi to listen to me, please. And therefore, don't undertake mental exercises. Think of your being. Think of what is, everything as it is. Because activity also is. Nothing is outside isness, being. Activity is. Thought is. Even the absence of thought is. The universe is. And all that is boils down to am. And therefore don't practice activity. Trace the abhasa of activity to Nishkriya Atma. Therefore here the Ashtavakra says, your main problem is you take interest in practices. You don't take interest in Vedantic education. Vedanta Mananam you don't take interest. Take interest in the Mananam. Don't take interest in some mental exercises. The only exercise that is useful is do japa, pray to the very source of everything. Hey Bhagavan, help me. Yeah, if you say, Swami, I am praying to my own nature, yeah, until you understand it, it is separate from you anyway. You do look upon it as separate. You pray to the fundamental nature of things to help you to understand it. And that prayer becomes an action which falls within the law of karma. It brings some inspiration. So prayer also, from adhyasa drishti, from pratit drishti, abhasa drishti, and maya srishti drishti, prayer is useful. From the swarupa drishti, there is no prayer. Prayer has culminated there. The entire adhyaropa drishti culminates in swarupa. Therefore, take interest in reflection. Take interest in not accomplishing something. Take interest in seeing as you are. You cannot be better than what you are. That I am Deha is not what you are. That is your thinking. All that resolves in Sushupti is what you are in the waking. All that resolves in Sushupti is what I think. Only thinking resolves in Sushupti. Existence doesn't resolve in Sushupti. And what resolves can only be thinking, not the existence. In this manner, discern between thinking and existence. Atma, Anatma, Viveka. Do it. Don't take interest in mental exercises. Some kind of meditation, some kind of focusing, some kind of light, some kind of fragrance, seeing some color. It's all silly. That way, if you are so interested in colors, etc., go to some nice nature spot, see all the colors to your heart's content, see the birds to your heart's content, and then you don't have to sit and meditate for that. Swamiji, in my meditation, birds chirp, colors are seen. That means you are really psychotic. Yes. Is it true? I don't mind saying, Ji, because I can tell you the truth. The truth is, unless a person is absolutely psychotic, he won't be seeing all these visions. What are you talking? Ayame vahite bandaha samadhi manutishthasi. This is over. The next verse. Tvaya vyaptam idam vishvam Tvayi protam yatharthataha Shuddha buddhasva swarupastvam Magamah kshudra chittatam. Magamaha, don't become, don't reach. Kshudra chittatam. Don't become don't feel too helpless. Based upon a given event, don't feel helpless. Never feel helpless. Because you can again, by just looking at yourself, you can again start smiling. Despite so many drawbacks in one's life, there is no need to feel helpless. You may lose certain things, so what? You are there. You are still alive. You are still awake. You are still mentally sane. And if you are alive and mentally sane, you can still make it to the ultimate. You can recognize the truth. Therefore, Magamaha kshudra chittatam. Don't ever feel helpless. थोड़ा सा ड्रॉबैक है, कोई बात नहीं. Because truth cannot be lost through an event. An event can cause me material loss. And all the material objects are a part of the pratiti, are a part of abhasa, are a part of maya srishti, are not a part of the vastu. Therefore material loss is not my, there is no loss, it is there in the part of creation. An object that I lose is very much in the creation. And an object that I get is very much a part of creation. I don't pluck it out from the creation. What I enjoy is a part of creation. What I can't enjoy also is a part of creation. Therefore this enjoyment and non-enjoyment also is a part of creation. Bhoga and abhoga also is a part of creation. Thus there are only two things, kshetram and kshetrajna. The creation and the source, the pratiti and the fact, the abhasa and the reality. Discern between them. Therefore, don't be cowed down by events. As long as you are alive, you are mentally sane, you are all right. If you are mentally sane, I think it is okay. Even if one is physically handicapped, koi baat nahi ji. If you are mentally sane, that is the main thing. If you are mentally sane, you can recognize the truth. We will continue it, see, this verse. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.